All right. Good morning. I apologize for the couple of minutes late start today, but I'm sure you're okay with that. My name is Laura Bender, and I do some yin today for our hips. And I find this to be appropriate timing. We do actually have a full moon tonight. And yin, if you don't are familiar with yin, it's very lunar. It's actually touches into our lunar side of our bodies, our feminine side. So to start our practice today, and again, like anything else, just make sure that you have permission from your physician if you have never practiced any kind of yoga before or activities like this before we get started. And then lastly, again, if you need to at any point back out of any of the poses, feel free to take whatever modifications that you need. I did include several props today. I have a couple blankets, blocks, and a bolster that I'm going to incorporate into our practice. Other than that, I pull out my moon deck, and I decided to pull a card today. And the card actually is, we are all sisters and reflect the divine in one another. So this is, again, another one of those points of just having a community together, having that we are all in this together, which has been the continued theme throughout these last several months. So just kind of taking that into note with your practice today. All right, so today we're going to start in child's pose, and we're going to take a wide knee variation. I'm going to use a blanket to place underneath the knees. And again, you don't have to use this if you don't want to, or any other support that you want, you can always use that as well. I'm going to take my knees to about the edges of the blanket, bring the big toes to touch, and just walk myself out, resting the forehead on the mat. And this, again, if you wanted to, you could grab another blanket or a block, maybe placing your head there if it's more comfortable. But, again, just kind of take it however your normal practice is. Allowing the breath just to flow gently in and out of the body while we're here, breathing into the hips. Allowing them to gently open. And taking a few more breaths here, and just letting go of anything that's no longer serving us. Okay, and then we're going to gently walk ourselves back up from your mat. And just kind of take your time during these transitions, no hurry. We want to make sure, because obviously the body's being held in a position for quite a few moments, so you don't want to overdo it. All right, and we're just going to lean forward a little bit so we can kind of untuck the toes and bring our knees right below the hips. And you might even want to, and I'm going to actually do this, is move back on your mat, maybe like towards the second half. At least I can have my knees still on my blanket. And I'm going to walk my hands out. We're going to melt our heart down into the mat. So this time our hips are actually elevated. Again, they are just hip distance apart. We aren't necessarily taking them wide like we did in the child's pose. You can bring your chin to the mat or your forehead, depending on what you're trying to look for here. We're just doing a little bit of a heart opening, a little melting into the mat. Allowing your belly to soften here. And having the toes tucked really kind of gives the feet a little extra stretch since we were in child's pose for a few minutes. Kind of giving it that counter stretch while we're here. And again, just taking a few more breaths, breathing in to the heart space, breathing into the hips. And just as gently as we walk into this, go ahead and walk yourself slightly back. We're going to keep our toes tucked if you can, just for a moment. And just going to take a second, maybe just kind of acclimate the body. All right. So next up, let's go ahead and take our right leg. We're going to extend it back behind us. Just kind of lifting it off the mat if you want to, or you're going to bring the toes just to the ground. And then we're going to bring up the foot to the top of the mat, just kind of to the outside part. Now, again, if you have a blanket here to support your other knee that's on the ground, the left knee, that's totally up to you. I'm also going to grab my bolster here. Let's see. And just kind of set this up in front of me so I have somewhere to rest my hands comfortably, or if I want to fold down into a sleeping dragon, I can. Again, totally up to you. You can stay here lifted, or if you want to, maybe after a few moments or for a few minutes, maybe kind of take part of this in a sleeping dragon. I'm actually going to do that. So just starting here. I'm just allowing for some extension in our left leg as it's back behind us. Let me do that. And as we breathe here into our hips, again, try to cultivate as much stillness as possible. I've noticed my playback on some of my videos, I'm definitely not still. So, it does take practice, just like anything else, just to find that sense of ease, that sense of stillness, quietness in the mind. Sometimes this is perfect practice for those people that can't settle down, allowing our mind to kind of focus on something else, maybe the discomfort of this pose. But we can always find those moments where we might not be still. And that's okay. This is your practice to kind of take it where you need to. All right. Now, if you're in a sleeping dragon, just go ahead and try to make your way back out of it. Maybe by lifting to your hands. The right leg, we're going to step it back to where we were, and we're going to keep our knees got about the hip distance for wherever you are. We'll bring the big toes again together, and we're just going to sink back onto the heels, this time taking back the arms for a different variation of child's pose. We'll kind of reach back for your heels, bring the forehead to the mat. We'll just be here for a minute or so just to kind of, again, counter the dragon pose that we just did. All right. Go ahead and bring your forehead off the mat. And we're just going to, again, come back to that tabletop. And if you want to, this could be the opportunity where you tuck your toes again. We're going to take the left toes back. Again, you can lift them off the mat or maybe just keep them straight behind you, depending on what you're feeling. And we're going to do the same thing, bringing that foot all the way up to the outside edge of the mat. Maybe kind of walk that right foot back if you need to. And just adjust here. I think I need to scoot up a little bit. There we go. Again, finding maybe that dragon pose where we're just starting in the upright position. And then you kind of work yourself into sleeping dragon. So then take your time. Maybe you just stay here, or maybe you're already in the sleeping dragon. Again, take it wherever you like to today. And you might even notice a difference between the sides of your body. Maybe your one side is more open than the other, and just kind of take note of that as we continue our practice today. All right, and again, if you're in that resting dragon, that sleeping dragon, go ahead and walk yourself up to your hands. And ever so slowly, again, just gonna slightly lean back. We're gonna bring that leg back towards our body, right underneath the hip, knee underneath the hip, I should say. And again, we're just gonna come into that little child's pose just for a minute. So go ahead, you don't have to bring the knees again wide, just bring them butt hip distance apart and bring the forehead down. We'll reach those arms behind us, reaching for our heels. Okay. We can gently bring the forehead up. And we'll come back to our hands and our knees. So next set of poses, I'm going to use a couple different props. Again, this is definitely completely up to you how you do this. We're going to do shoelace. And I need something to kind of sit on when I come back into this. So I'm going to place a couple blankets on the floor. You're welcome to use 0 props, a block if you wanted to instead. Or maybe even like a bolster if you had one. This one's a little high, so I kind of feel like it's a little counterproductive. So let me kind of move this out of the way for a moment. All right, so again, coming to the hands and the knees. What we're going to do is take, again, that right leg and extend it back behind us. And we're going to reach the knee forward. So kind of reaching the knee up between where your hands are. And if you have a prop behind you, we want to be able to sit back on it. So I'm crossing my legs over, so my knees are kind of stacked. My hips are also kind of tight, so that doesn't totally happen. All right, and again, you can stay here. You can stay in the seated posture if you want to. Or the other option would be to just folding forward. So maybe walking your hands down like this. You can rest your head on your knee or a prop. So go ahead and just kind of settle in. Again, breathing into that outside hip. Okay. If you're folded forward, go ahead and walk your hands back. And to get out of this is kind of how we got in. So just leaning forward, and we're just going to unravel the legs. Now we're going to do another variation of child's pose. I'm keeping the toes tucked. I'm going to keep that prop behind me. It's not a big deal. And just kind of sinking back towards the heels. And then taking the arms as wide as your mat. So nice wide, almost kind of in between our melted heart and our child's pose. Again, just kind of finding a couple breaths, stretching the bottoms of the feet. So really pushing back with those fingertips towards the heel. Okay, wonderful. Just walk yourself back. Going back to that tabletop pose. So if your toes are tucked, untuck them. We're going to bring that left knee in towards the center and then crossing it over the right and sitting back on a prop if you have it there. Finding a nice tall spine. And again, maybe you're staying here the entire practice, or maybe you're kind of folding in part of the way. Just again, whatever feels good for your body. Go ahead and take that. Maybe you can close your eyes here and just kind of take yourself to another place. Just observing the breath, observing your body. All right, and if you're folded down, go ahead and bring yourself upright. Just taking a few breaths here. And then the same thing as how we got in. Just start to bring yourself forward. Uncross the legs. Good. I'm going to move this out of the way because I will eventually use it for my another couple poses. But again, tucking the toes here. And if you want to bring the toes together, you can. So let's go ahead and bring those shoulder or the hands nice and wide as we push back towards the heels, getting that. I feel really good on the bottoms of the feet, the hip flexors. Okay, let's go ahead and walk ourselves back. Now, the next few poses, we're actually going to be on our belly. So if it's uncomfortable on your belly, you can always use the blanket here to place underneath. Just going to place it to the side for a few moments. And we're going to come to crocodile, which is just coming flat onto the belly. And we're going to spend a few moments here. So just coming on down, creating a little pillow with your hands. Maybe you're spreading your feet to the width of your mat. Letting everything just soften into the mat here. You can rest your forehead down into that little pillow that you created, allowing the back to release. Allowing your abdomen just to soften into the mat. And just feeling the energy tingling through the body. All right, so I'm not really creating a whole lot of movement from here. And this might be an opportunity if you wanted to use a blanket to your side, you can. I'm going to take my left knee, bending the leg, and kind of placing it at a 90-degree angle next to me, just coming into a half frog pose. All right, so bringing the knee back in towards the body. And then we're going to prop ourselves up onto our forearm. So we want to have the shoulders or the elbows right below the shoulder blades. I took off my glasses for this last one. Back on so I can actually see. All right, so yeah, we want to have our elbows right below those shoulders. We can spread our fingers wide. And again, maybe the legs kind of come wide here too. Or you can just kind of keep them together. Totally up to you. Again, relaxing the back, coming into the Sphinx pose. And also kind of being mindful of how our neck is. We want to eliminate the wrinkles in the back of the neck. So you're just kind of keeping your gaze maybe at your fingertips, but still keeping the chest lifted, the heart lifted. And if this does begin to be too much on the head, you can always take a block here. I don't recommend this, but it was something another instructor had taught us. You can always rest the chin here, but again, it kind of puts a little bit too. It kind of ruins the integrity, changes the integrity of the pose, though. So I don't recommend. All right, go ahead and lower yourself down to your belly. We're going to do the half frog on now on the right side. So taking the right leg up beside us, bending the knee at a 90-degree angle, and again, creating a little pillow with your hands and just coming to a resting pose. Okay. Again, slowly start to bring that leg back, straightening it out. And once again, we will prop ourselves up onto our elbows and forearms. Coming into a Sphinx pose again for a second time. Allowing our chest to lift gently, our back to release. Fingers spread nice and wide, maybe the eyes closed. Maybe taking another few more breaths. All right, ever so gently, just kind of pushing yourself up to your hands and knees just for a moment. Keeping the knees somewhat close together, maybe again, hips distance apart, toes to touch. And we'll just come back for that child's pose that we did earlier, bringing the forehead down, reaching the arms back. All right, making our ways up to a seated pose. And if you have a bolster here, you can use it. I'm actually going to grab mine. If you even sit on a blanket here, you can do that too. And I think I'm going to do that just a little bit. And if, so I'm going to extend the legs out long. I'm going to bring my bolster and just rest it gently on top of my legs. And if I have, depending on how many blankets you have, you know, maybe you only have one, maybe you're choosing to sit on it, or maybe you're just going to place them on top. So the idea is here, we're going to gently fold over and spend a few moments. And I'm going to take my glasses off again. All right, so with Yin, just kind of allow yourself to walk it forward. Maybe finding a little bit of rest here. All right, just as how wherever we walked into this, go ahead and walk yourself back out. Just kind of setting yourself up for a moment. All right, so we've come to the last posture that we're going to work on today. So I'm going to move this stuff out of the way. And I'm going to grab my blocks. If you don't have blocks, you don't need to use them. I just prefer them over anything else in this particular pose. So we're going to come to our back, and we're actually going to just kind of do some twisting. So extending on your back and just having your left and right leg long for just a moment. And we're going to start by bringing the right knee towards the chest. I'm actually going to put a block right here. And you can just provide a gentle squeeze, nothing too intense here. And I'm going to take a supine twist. So just taking my knee maybe over to the block. And this is because I can't quite reach the ground. And I feel like this feels a little better for my body. So again, it might not be something for you. I'm going to take my arms and just going to bring them to a T. And you can also use your left hand to guide the right knee down, maybe a little further. Take the gaze to the right. All right, go ahead and bring the knee back to center. Just kind of making your way to your back. We'll extend that right leg long. And walk the left knee in, giving it a gentle squeeze. And then rotating that leg over to the right, extending out your both arms or maybe just the left. All right, go ahead and bring the leg back to center. And just take this moment to maybe find some length in the body. I'm going to bring my blanket back in just to support my head. We'll take the arms to the side, legs nice and wide, and just let the feet fall open, relax. And come to Shavasana. And slowly start to deepen the breath. And invite some gentle movement into the body. Maybe just rocking the head gently from side to side. Wiggling toes and fingers. Rolling the wrists and the ankles. And just inviting some movement into the rest of the body. Just taking your time here. Go ahead and walk the knees in towards the body, so just bending the legs. Then rolling over to your left side, using your arm as a pillow. And taking these last few moments just to absorb any remaining yin energy into the body. Letting it flow through. Gentle, energetic sensation. And then when you're ready, pressing yourself up to a seat, your eyes remaining closed. We're at a soft gaze. And we'll bring our hands to our heart. So thank you so much for sharing your practice, your energy with me today. A wonderful rest of your day and rest of your week. Bringing the thumb knuckles up to your third eye, center of the forehead. The divine light in me honors the divine light in each of you. And together we bow. Namaste. Thank you.